Hey everyone, hope everybody's doing well. We're going to start another video on finding opportunity buying legends in the women's soccer card market. I think it's important that we consider this conversation in light of the growing trends within the market and how we've seen it develop over time. I truly believe this is important for us all as we begin to take steps forward and seeing the opportunities that might be here. I discussed this in past videos, and I want to discuss it now because I think it's important that we understand the opportunity that is before us. This opportunity is one where a lot of the market is going towards prospects and those types of players. And so the opportunity is there for those who want to, look deeply and think critically about the possibility of legendary players and GOAT-esque players that are going to be in the market. And so there's much opportunity there if you pay attention. The question is that it takes some work to be able to learn the different sets and the cards that are available for different players because they're not as readily available. They're not as marketed because of when they came out. And so I think this video might be helpful for you to help to determine some more fundamental ideas in this conversation, but also to see the margin of difference. First today, I just want to say this is that, excuse me, legends have already established themselves. In this market, the market has not realized yet the quality of players that we have already seen, their impact on the game and how they have shaped the game of soccer, football, depending on where you're at in the world, within certain countries, within the international game. And particularly, we think back from, whether it's the 80s into the 90s push for the women's teams. There's a lot of key figures, key players who have a long legacy and they play for 10 plus years, who made a deep impact on this game, who have, scored hundreds of goals at the international level, who have played for various clubs and made an impact, won Player of the Year trophies. And we need to understand that they are established, that history will not forget their impact on the game, particularly in such a formative period in the game. I think we are in a different season of the game today for the women's soccer game because it's in a tactical evolution. We're moving to a more possession-oriented, not a direct style of play. There's a lot of things happening, but regardless of that fact, the legends have established themselves, and I think that's important for us to know. So the inverse of that is where prospects have everything to lose, while legends have much to gain in this market. What I mean by prospects have everything to lose is that the prospects have baked into their market success, regardless if they have performed at that high level, whether they have deserved such a reputation. There's the assumption that they're going to succeed. We see this with key players such as Trinity Rodman, Sophia Smith, Macario, Salma, whoever it might be, that they have baked in. Okay, they're going to win a Player of the Year. They're going to win, MVP in their, domestic league. They're going to go to the World Cup 3 or 4 times and hopefully be a World Cup champion one of those times or multiple times. It's baked in. For legends, they can only, they could go down depending on the market and its up and downs of the in general market, but as a player, they can't add to really. And so we know what they've done, what they've accomplished. I'll talk about it later about how they could lose, but I think it's important to see that there's much to lose with prospects, yet we have a market that really is heavy in prospects. Legends set the pedigree for the prospect ceiling. It's so important to remember that what we determine as a legendary player or a GOAT player is the bar. So you need to go to those legends, look at their stats, look at their accomplishments, and determine whether or not this player will tangibly actually get there. And if you think, man, they actually probably won't get there, most likely, you're probably correct. You are probably correct. And without understanding that they're probably not going to meet the ceiling, I hope that many do or some do, but realistically, not every prospect we put out there is going to meet that. Most likely, they're not going to be a top 15 player to ever play the game. So without this understanding, market inflation will will occur, right? During player popularity and lead to them being irrelevant when they lack attention. So again, popular for a year or two, maybe three. Oh, they don't meet the standard. And then this market is fairly volatile. It can happen within a year. Even players who have won, the Ballon d'Or, and I've mentioned that in previous videos. If you have not had a chance to watch those, maybe watch the one on the fundamentals and the others about just the market overall. I think it could be helpful for you if you're new to this. So as you think about this, while buying ledges might not bring an unknown adventure, often you are more secure in your investment unless public failure arises for that player or public opinion has a negative impact. I think there's one or two cases where the public's opinion, I think, really does impact the cardboard price. And maybe we'll talk about that in another video. I don't know if it should, but it depends on what type of situation it is. Let me preface with that. I don't know if the individual I'm thinking of, their situation has anything like heinous or illegal, troubling in that way has happened. I think it's just more of a popularity kind of decision with people, even though they brought some key moments to the game. So on this note, I think in general, communities form consensuses on legends based on tangible performances and statistical analysis. And so, as I've been mentioning earlier about the fundamentals in previous videos, we need to establish what it means to be a legend, what it means to be a GOAT-S player. We need to allow that to really establish itself and then look at prospects in light of that. And then we should be investing in the prospects because there is much opportunity right now based on the buy-in price. And I'm going to discuss the buy-in price later because I think it's so important because prospects are too close. Currently, right now in the market, prospects are too close. Prospects keep a market interesting, but also cause the most frustration. Prospects' prices are typically baked in with high success. I mentioned that earlier. Prospects can be low risk, though, and high reward at sometimes. If you can find the prospect that nobody's talking about, that nobody's thinking of, you're paying a few bucks for, a Topps Chrome card or Sapphire card, and they're under the radar, but you've been watching them, how they've been playing, and no one's giving them love. There can be high reward there, and it can be low risk. A few bucks here and there. I've not been talking about them. I've been talking about some of these key prospects that carry high risk with high reward. And I don't even know if the reward is that high right now. If I'm honest, if we look at Sophia Smith and Trendy Rodman as two case studies here, they're Parkside autos moving into the World Cup last year were selling well over $1,000. Some selling between $1,400 to $1,800. They were really pushing it, and that was just for the blue auto, not even the purple out of 50. And so it was pushing. This is raw. Those cards conditions aren't that great. They're really hard to grade, and they were selling so strong. But now those autos are in a totally different spot. They're sub 1,000, sub 1,000. And so in 6 or so months, give or take, the market has completely shifted. What was baked in? Well, that they would win the World Cup, that this would be their coming out party, that they would solidify themselves as world-class players. For one of them, you might be able to make a case that they are, pushing a world-class status, but the World Cup was not favorable for their play. And I'm referring to Sophia Smith there just because she won the MVP and NWSL and other things like that, that there could be a possibility. But regardless of the fact, it's high risk, high reward. You're investing a substantial amount of money into a card that they're not solidified in their greatness. If their careers ended tomorrow, they do not hold up for the value. I do not hope that happens, but in general, and Psalm is the same though. Because with her value too, people have kind of baked in the Barcelona effect there, where her style of play, she gets great opportunities on goal. They've been playing certain teams, so she's scoring goals and kind of adding to it, the mix there. And Barcelona's a great club right now. There's an opportunity to score goals in that team because they are tactically ahead of many teams and how they're playing the game. And that's great coaching. That's great on many levels, but we need to continue to see this develop in this market, because as they will most likely not become those top 10, top 15 players, we need to question whether or not their market should be as strong as the legendary and GOAT players. On that note, I think there can be, higher value prospects that people are considering and adding to their collections. I'm not trying to put a kind of a stopgap here, but it shouldn't be that they sell above with the exclusion of the random PSA 10. Like I'm not talking about, the Mia Hamm SI for kids, PSA 10 because that card is sold for a lot. It's come down a lot drastically. I think that says something about overall sports card market in general, but even for people's investment in this market, her cards dropped down. But the gap is lessening in certain ways. And it's like, no, they should not be that high. Yet. Like they have not earned that. I hope that they do. If anybody knows me, I'm favorable to them as an American fan. I like what they can do. I'm very hopeful that they can engage in some tactical adjustments. I hope that our women's team makes to a much more possession-oriented style of soccer. I won't get on those types of analysis right here and right now, but I do think you all should pay attention there because I think as we think about legendary players in the future and the prospects that are going to make a big mark, as clubs shift tactically, the direct styles of play that lead to free play from wingers, that which Americans tend to do, get you to that 1v1 scenario and beat them. We need to be cautious about how the game is shifting and if players' abilities are able to shift with the tides of the games and the systems. We're in a system shift within the women's game right now. And for American players, they need to respond to that. But let me move on from that. So as they won't be likely to live up to the expectations, people still like fear missing out on what these car manufacturers are pushing out. And the car manufacturers are really trying to get you to want to have those cards and is leading to, thousands and thousands of dollars to be, dumped into these players' markets when there's just going to be this revolving door effect in a few years or even this year on some of their cars. That's why some of their cars sell so often because it is volatile in that way. Because those who sometimes buy them are actually long-term collectors and holders, and so they're moving them. That's why you see like 15 sales of a car, but also that could be shield bidding too. That's a whole another thing. But we need to be aware that prospects keep a market interesting, but also causes the most frustrations. So just be aware of that when you're buying prospects. I'm not telling you never to buy a prospect. Consider the risk. I just think in light of this video, you really need to think about the legends. And that's the big push that I'm trying to make for us. Next is that more sets for a prospect in women's soccer collecting often hinders opportunity and value. And the market cannot absorb these cards, which makes it even more volatile to invest in prospects over legends and ghosts. That's kind of simply what I just said. And lastly, the B and C list prospects sell at higher rates than club and international legends. That's extremely problematic. We're not even just talking about the A list. We're not talking about the players that people believe should be world-class players. We're talking about players who are, fringe on the U.S. women's national team or not even, didn't even make the roster, but they're selling at higher rates. And one of my prime examples here is that you can get raw Kristine Lilly, even her SI for kids rookies for dirt cheap. I know that there's a high population of those based on how many magazines are printed, but her other cards, she doesn't have that many. Whether you're going to, the World Cup card, whether, you're going to some of these other sets, she is few and far between. But her cards sell for much less, fractions of the cost of some of these other players. And I think that is a travesty because many of them would be grateful to have her career, and it's very unlikely that they will have her career. So what does this mean for us all? I think this means that the numbers don't lie, though, on legend over prospects. And I'm going to show this in a few moments. Because particularly with the U.S. women's national team, we tend to treat certain players who've gotten reps as true prospects as bona fide, as they have arrived. And I just want to highlight that McCarty and Rodman and Smith even are still prospects, even though they might have settled into opportunities for the national team. Someone say, well, you really think Smith is kind of a prospect? I mean, I think she's so early on in her career. I think she's one of the best in the NWSL. I think she's one of the best in the world. I think even recent studies on top 50 players, she's one of the only Americans that are in the top 30. And I think the other one that's close is Gurma. But beyond that, it shows that the gap is moving right now in the global scale for how people view the game and productivity on the field. But she didn't have that same, dominant performance at the World Cup that she was given in NWSL when she won her MVP and things like that. And there's even question whether or not that she was the best player in that season that she won her MVP. And yeah, I'm not trying to tear her down. I think she's a quality player, but these players are still prospects. That's what I'm trying to get at. They're not the stars that we know will have the longevity yet. It seems hopeful. Rahman had a great rookie season. Macario seemed to be gaining steam, and then her injury came in. But even if we look at them and the possibilities in comparison to some of the previous legends, you'll see that the rookie material of this generation is actually really hard to pinpoint, and it's really hard to see it as being more valuable at times in comparison to the legendary and the good players because there's so many cards. And the question that we're going to have to ask that nobody has really answered yet, and honestly, the market's just going to have to speak to it through sales, is do we prefer club or international cards? Maybe we prefer international cards for earlier players because there was not as many club cards, few and far between. Or in today's game, it's okay, we're going to value the club and the international. Or does it depend on what they accomplish, Those are good questions for us in this rookie material conversation. Looking at rookie material, and I use the term rookie material to kind of give more of a timeline here because the market is currently in disagreement on what is a true rookie for these players. Does the RC logo determine them as being a rookie, or is it just their first card? If I use Macario as an example, her having the upper deck card being unlicensed, some people are not happy about it being unlicensed, and so they don't prefer that card over and against some of her other cards, even if some are short printed. I think it's good to note that. And in the market, some would say, well, maybe Topps Chrome should be the first card. Well, that is if they're playing in Europe. Should Parkside be it if they're playing in NWSL? Or should you wait for a Panini card? Well, that all depends on the popularity of the player, if they can even just make it on the checklist for Panini, because Panini is doing few and far between women's only sets. And that was just happened with the World Cup set, where we got a lot of cards for players all throughout the world. So in general, though, having 332 cards / variations for Macario to date is a lot. And that's spanning from, whether 2018 to now, and people are just don't know what they consider rookie. I think that's interesting. Then 2023, we have rookie cards for her when she's had cards coming out in different waves, since the Sports Illustrated for Kids, the 2021 cards, she's had options. Same goes for Trinity Rodman. Over 246 cards / variations to date that could be considered rookie material depending on who you are talking about. I think for Trinity, it's going to be important to see how people react to Parkside over the long haul. Will they maintain licensing with NWSL? Will people tend to prefer that? I think her and Smith having those autos in that set will really cause a lot of eyes if they meet the greatness that they are, perceived are able to achieve. If they reach that greatness, then there's that possibility that Parkside could be a mainstay because people are thinking about those cards early on. I know that the Smith Prospects is a very popular rare card that people trade at a high rate, not a high rate, but at a high price point. So we need to deal with this rookie material conversation but those numbers don't look good for them. It shows that you're going to be spread out then. It's different when you can say, oh, these legends only have, 5, 6 cards that might be considered rookie material, or 1 or 2. That's different. Like that we have to account for that within this market, and particularly with prices. And if we can't, we're in trouble. We are in trouble. So kind of from here, I want to do a comparison between some of the prices in light of this, knowing that these players have more cards, knowing that there's more opportunity to get these prospects. Well, we should compare it to Legends numbers and understand what's the disparity. Is there a disparity so we can move forward? So let's look at a comparison here. First, Sophia Smith and Alex Morgan. We have the Gold Promising Prospect card, a beautiful card there from Parkside there. Some of the sales previously at 1,800, 2,500, and 2,200. Strong sales on the card. It's in the type of pack it came in. It's not in overproduction, and so that's why I think it's a little bit rare and people want it. Then we have her Parkside Blue auto, which is the auto I was referring to earlier that was selling well north of 1,000. Now it's back down. Here's some of the recent sales: 860, 900, and 725. I think one of the Robins actually sold for under 400. I think we'll get to that later on in the slide. So there's a lot of movement on their autos right now, and it was baked into the World Cup, and that's so important to remember of the value. Let's turn attention to Alex Morgan, for what Alex Morgan has accomplished, and for even how many times the Super Draft exclusives pops up on the market. It's rare. It is rare that they come to market. It's rare that they're before our eyes and collectors have the opportunity to make a play at them. In comparison to how the Blue Auto trades, and the Blue Auto was trading in a similar category this past summer even. And we even had a recent buy it now, was $7.99, I believe, might have been $5.99, one of the two. But it was very close to that Blue Parkside auto. I don't know if the person just made a mistake, put it online. I hope the buyer got the card or whatnot, but that is interesting that card was sell so close. And I encourage you all to do research on the market, to look at some of these ideas and really consider the rate at which cards are trading at and think, is this the best value for where the market's at today? Am I gaining the most? Look at this, the 2011 World of Sports card auto. Same picture, with her auto on it. Does not trade as often. $1,250. You compare what she's done and accomplished, 2 World Cups, has impacted it at the international players, played in Europe, has played well in domestically in the States. She's a legend for her country. She's made an impact. Smith, great player, up and coming, a lot of possibilities. One of the best players in NWSL. Can we say she's one of the best players in the world yet? I don't think we can yet. This is legendary types of prices that are there for her right now. We got to be aware of that. Next, so thinking about Sophia Smith, where she's at, look at Marta and Christine Sinclair. This is the 2010 WPS Marks. If you're not familiar with this set, you should familiarize yourself with it. I do think this is going to be one of the most impactful sets in the soccer card market overall for the women's side. And this set I referred to in previous videos. This card and set, it's going to be iconic because it has a loaded checklist with legendary players that will forever be remembered. This Marta auto selling for $1,000 to $800 when, in many people's books, she is the greatest of all time. She's the number one, fairly uncontested by some. At minimum, she's top 2, top 3. And you think about that, and think about buying Sophia Smith or Trinity Rodman above her, and this is out of 100. It shows where our market's at. People play the game, these young girls, because of how she played the game. I know it was not to her advantage that Brazil has not had the, World Cup success. She'll never be forgotten for how many times she's won Women's Player of the Year. Legendary, the best to ever do it, probably, thus far. Then we have Christine Kane. What she's done for her international side, Canada leading in women's goals all time, internationally, like those are marks that undeniable as great, as legendary. She's in most people's top 10. Some people say she's their GOAT, Look at those prices. Even at where the market's settled at now, some of these players are selling for above. I didn't even bring in the Topps Chrome players who are selling for above them because of just time in this video. I'm just trying to get us started on this conversation, get us moving in the right direction, and really to highlight the legendary players that are available to you in comparison to these other players. Let's continue. Here's Trinity. Parkside Blue Auto. At one point sold, there's one sold 1,400, 700, and a recent sales round, I think 400. I did not add that on there. I should have. Okay. That's comparable right now to Christine Sinclair. You add into it her Parkside Rookie of the Year, which is rare. Understand that. It's been a while since it sold. Doesn't sell that often because I think it's the population of it. Still a lot. That's baked in. Like, it is baked in drastically. So when we're looking at this, you see gap and opportunity, but the opportunity is not with the prospects or the up-and-coming players. Let's continue on. Ashley Sanchez, her promising prospects, PSA 10 sold for $500. I understand it's a PSA 10. These could be harder cards to grade. But one of the best goal scorers of all time, Abby Wambach, who has a fairly rare auto in 2004 Fans of the Game set. She has another card from 2003. She also has a 2004 Choice. She doesn't have many cards early. This is one of the best cards for her. It has the USA Women's National Team logo in it. This is not a baked-in value. This is a undervalued player. The most recent I could find a transaction for PSA 9 was $384. I'm buying that every day over the Ashley Sanchez card. Great possibilities, but even she's struggling for form right now. We gotta be aware of that. Let's turn our attention to the other side of the screen where we have Jaden Shaw and Megan Rapinoe. Jaden Shaw's Parkside Paramount Auto has dipped a lot. It was selling around 200. I think with her getting more reps with the international side and first team reps, it'll probably go up. But it's $66, $89, $76 for a car that's out of 400 were printed. We got Jersey out of 49, Megan Rapinoe from 2012 Panini Americana, which is her first international card and one of her first cards in general, rookie cards. Hatch Auto, $69.76 was an auction. I just hope people didn't see the auction, but in general, $89 for Jaden Shaw, Megan Rapinoe, auto. Like, one of them is won the Ballon d'Or. The other one is hoping to make the team. Didn't he make the World Cup roster? So, oh, she's young, possibilities. No, like we need to think about the market and analyze in this way. Like, there should be more value on that 2012 Panini Americana set in general because of first player cards international jersey. You need to do your own research there. This should be a more valuable set. But hopefully you see the disparity. I got one last disparity I want to mention here. Olivia Moultrie, we got her 2021 Parkside Blue Auto. That sold for $177 recently. Then we have a Kelly Smith WPS Marks Auto, sold for $137. Kelly Smith is one of the legendary players for the English side, has made a deep impact on the game. over in England. She's assisted for Arsenal and things like that. She's very relevant over there in the market. And I'm using her because I think that the global scale, Europe is going to be a big part of the market going forward. And if I were to continue this video on, I would have more European comparisons, and that legendary conversation is totally different. I have a video of Kelly Smith later on, some of her cards, just to be helpful to us all. But y'all see that? Y'all see the numbers? Go research Kelly Smith and what she's done for the game, and the pressure that we're baking into Olivia Moultrie's market here. When you put that there and say that, oh, this player's going to reach these heights, this auto out of 100 is trading substantially lower. 250, 100. With its legendary status, this will be a great career for her. So I think overall, I really want us to know that there's opportunity here. And I'm giving these comparisons just to get you going, to keep exploring, to keep looking at the possibilities. We need more people exploring the market, looking how to pick up cards that other people have not seen or realized yet and learn about so we can grow together. We also need to begin to see these legends for their contributions and the value that they're making and be grateful for that and value that and see how that goes along the way. I really hope that this video is helpful and get you thinking about prospecting versus buying legends. And I hope you see that there's a lot of opportunity if you're going to buy prospects for you to buy legends. I think even if you don't want to buy prospects, I think buying legends is a great way forward. The market might not see it right now, but sometimes to gain, you have to go against the grain. What opportunities do you have? What players do you want to collect? I know I'd rather build my collection on legends and GOATs. So that's what I'm focusing on. So I look forward to hearing about what you're trying to collect. Feel free to share that. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment below any questions that you might have. Feel free to reach out to me on IG. I would love to have conversations with you about collecting the cards that we love, and I like to hear about who you are collecting, who is a mainstay within your PC. Feel free to reach out to me about that. But beyond that, I just thank you all for listening. I know it was a little bit longer video, but I hope it was helpful, and I hope everyone has enjoyed it. Thank you.